Huge changes are coming to this Boston Bruins locker room as something strange is going on with the front office. Cryptic messages from Jim Montgomery stating that something is going to be coming soon. We're going to be breaking down all of this news, what changes are happening, and what Jim Montgomery had to say in this video. Now, before we get into everything here, we noticed that still many of you guys are not subscribed. If you wanted to hit the sub button, join us here on the channel covering everything Boston Bruins related. Make sure to hit that sub button and hit the bell as well. But without any further ado, let's get into our first topic here, which is a very big change is coming, and one that Boston Bruins fans all know that we need. This top six has really been quite bad, to be honest, starting off this season, and expectations are very, very high for them, but they've not been met at all. And we know that. We know something needs to happen, and something is going to be happening very soon. Recent reports have revealed that the Bruins are looking to make a change, and this is what we have here, first of all. When looking at a potential switch for the second line, one thing that could make a lot of sense is replacing Morgan Geekie with Matthew Poitras. Geekie struggled to adjust to the right wing position, posting 0 points and a -4 rating in 4 games. Meanwhile, Poitras was given reps at right wing during training camp and has been impactful early on in the campaign. This perhaps giving him a look at the top 6 could be worthwhile, especially when noting that he is a skilled offensive player. And I think that this is one thing that everybody in the Boston Bruins fan group, locker room probably even has wanted. We know that Matthew Poitras is ready to be here, ready to be at this NHL roster for a full season now, hopefully barring any injuries, and he's ready to make the jump to the from the third line to the top 6 already, and I think this is the perfect move to make right now. As I mentioned, we're not having the most ideal start of the season for Morgan Geekie, posting 0 points in those 4 games, and not even being at all really relevant to the line. So having Matthew Poitras jump up to this right wing, I think is going to be the perfect situation right now. And I'm really hoping we can see this as early as next game against the Colorado Avalanche tonight, because we know the Colorado Avalanche, they're a very, very good team. Even though they're 0-3, they could still absolutely come out of the gates firing. And the Bruins need every bit of offense they can get, especially with the additions they've made. The way the lineup is looking right now, it looks like it has a lot of potential to be the top in the NHL. And I'm willing to say that of over a lot of teams, even though we've seen 2 pretty bad games against the Panthers. This lineup is just on the brink of being ready to see much more news coming towards them as well from everywhere in the media, and what everybody's saying about them is going to get a lot better if Matthew Poitras moves up to the second line. And going on to the next screenshot that we have here as well, goes on further to talk about Morgan Geekie. Geekie's also thrived last season in the third line center role. In 76 games, he had a career high 17 goals, 22 assists, and 39 points. This reuniting him on a line with Trent Frederic and Justin Brazeau could help the 6'3" forward regain his previous form. And I think that a big thing of Morgan Geekie's game that he was missing this season is being at that solid center position. You know, we know him as a center, not really that right winger that we kind of pushed him into at the beginning of this season. Having him get back to a familiar faces on the both sides of him at a face-off, having him back in the familiar lineup and system that we were seeing last season on the third line, I think is going to be really ideal for him. And I think that's one thing that we need to make happen. And seeing at the forwards right here, just switching Morgan Geekie and Matthew Poitras right now, I think it's just the perfect move that is not yet made, that needs to be made. Simply having those two switch around, I think, would be absolutely solve many problems. The first line is playing, okay compared to the second line. The second line playing absolutely terrible. And the bottom 6, we know how good they have been over the past first 4 games, and only going to be better as we progress throughout this season, as they gain some more, some more playing time together with a brand new bottom 6. So I'm excited to see what we do have here, as well as going into what changes will be made and what we really see from Jim Montgomery out of this. And speaking of Jim Montgomery, there was a pretty cryptic quote that he gave about this top 6, pretty much revealing that nobody's spot is safe in this lineup right now, even the top line. And this is what we have here from Jim Montgomery, and this is what he had to say. Really happy with the bottom 6, and the fourth line has been very, very impressive. They're just doing their role. Guys on the top 6 aren't doing their role. And, a pretty, very front quote from Jim Montgomery. He's pretty much saying that, as long as you're doing your role, as the bottom 6 are, you're good. But this top 6 is not, and some changes are going to have to be made. And I think that this is one thing that Jim Montgomery had been pointing out, is this change to Morgan Geekie, and especially not just himself, but that second line as a whole. We know that Marchand, even coming off 3 surgeries, still has not seemed like himself so far in the beginning of this season. Charlie Coyle playing okay, but when you're having two wingers who have been pretty irrelevant around you, there's not much you can do, and Morgan Geekie, as the final piece of this one here, has simply just been, quite honestly, very, very bad. But looking at the points here from Morgan Geekie's past seasons going and this season as well, I'll pull this up on the bigger screen so you can see. This season, -4 with 4 games, 0 points. That was one thing that has been really a big standout piece for this Boston Bruins team. Jim Montgomery, Don Sweeney, kind of everybody discussing what is going to have to change here. But last season, 76 games with those 39 points. That is a very big discrepancy from, the second line right wing to the third line center. And even with the teammates that he was playing with on his line and currently in this season and past seasons, there's a big discrepancy. And I think that we need to get him back into that familiar position so that he can find his skates back under him, find his feet, and kind of get back to the Morgan Geekie that we know we want to see him. We've been discussing this second line right wing since the beginning of the season, whether it was Georgi Merkulov, whether it was Fabian Lysell, whether it was going to still be Morgan Geekie, and it is evident that we went with the wrong decision, although even if it was Fabian Lysell, Georgi Merkulov, any of the other rookies that we've been discussing in this position, I don't know if that would have made a change. I don't think that would have mattered too much to make this line something different. I think that this is just a very early season struggle from them, but a change needs to be made, and it needs to be made quick if we want to see some very successful upcoming games from the Boston Bruins. And we've seen 2 wins against the LA Kings, against the Montreal Canadiens, but 2 losses to the former reigning Stanley Cup champions, and still a very, very good team in the Florida Panthers. And the game did get away, and that did not help this second line whatsoever. And going on to another point here from the top points of the team, I guess is a better way of putting it. And looking at this, the top 8, what I have here, it would have been way too big to put the entire lineup here. But Elias Lindholm, David Pastrnak, Charlie McAvoy even. Those are the guys you kind of expect to be here, although you expect them to be more towards the 1, 2, and 3. We have Elias Lindholm here with Mark Kastelik, a guy who surprised everybody in this lineup at number 2. Cole Kepke at number 4 and Johnny Beecher at number 5. That bottom pairing has really shown that they're exceeding all expectations. They're playing their own game. They're playing the way they need to play. And realistically, as a Bruins fan, you're happy to see this, but you're also not, because you're not seeing any Brad Marchand. You're not seeing any Charlie Coyle. You're not seeing any Morgan Geekie. You're not seeing any Pavel Zacha here. Those are the guys that you need to see at the top of this list if you want to have a successful season and go back to another first round against the Florida Panthers and go for the win this time. We need to see some changes, and I think that's what Jim Montgomery has been hinting at here in this season so far, and I do think that we are going to see a change made, whether it's tonight against the Colorado Avalanche, whether it is after a few more games we see if Morgan Geekie continues to struggle. Something is going to have to change, and all signs are pointing to Matthew Poitras moving up to the second line. So let me know what you think about all of this news here regarding Matthew Poitras. Do you think we're going to see him up into this top 6, or is he going to stay at the third line center for a little bit longer? Let me know. But that's all I got. I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.